Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the alien patrol vessel grow larger on his screen. The New Dawn was just a cargo ship now, carrying food and supplies between human colonies. At least that's what the aliens thought. 3 years had passed since the war ended. 3 years since humanity signed the peace treaty with the Vrak Empire. The aliens believed they had won. They thought humans were broken and defeated. Jake smiled quietly to himself. If only they knew the truth. The Vrak patrol ship sent a message. Jake nodded to his communications officer, Pete Collins. Pete was young, maybe 25, with brown hair and steady hands. He had been with Jake since before the war. "This is Vrak Patrol 7. Submit your cargo manifest for inspection," came the cold voice through the speakers. Jake took a deep breath. He had done this dance 100 times before. "Sending manifest now," he replied in a tired voice. He made sure to sound defeated, like a man who had given up hope. The manifest showed medical supplies for the colony on Titan, food packets for the mining station on Ceres, basic tools for the farmers on Europa. Nothing suspicious. Nothing that would make the aliens look closer. While they waited, Jake thought about Admiral Lisa Carter. She was hiding somewhere in the outer system, probably on Europa or one of the hidden bases. Lisa was the real leader of humanity now, even though the aliens didn't know she existed. As far as the Vrak knew, all human military leaders had been killed or captured during the war. Lisa was smart. Smarter than any alien Jake had ever met. She had come up with a plan 3 years ago when the Vrak first attacked Earth. Instead of fighting to the bitter end, humanity would pretend to surrender. They would act defeated while secretly preparing for the real war. Cargo manifest approved. "Proceed to your destination," the Vrak officer said. Jake's ship moved away from the patrol vessel. Once they were alone, Pete turned to him with a grin. "They fell for it again, Captain. They always do," Jake said. "Aliens think they're so smart, but they don't understand humans at all." Jake walked to his private quarters and locked the door. He pulled out a small device that looked like a broken piece of equipment. But when he pressed the right buttons, it came alive with lights and data. This was a quantum communicator, something the Vrak had never seen before. Human scientists had built it using stolen alien technology. He sent a coded message to Admiral Carter. The message contained information about Vrak ship movements, the location of their bases, and the number of soldiers he had seen. Every supply run was really a spy mission. Every human ship was gathering intelligence. On Europa, Admiral Lisa Carter received the message in her hidden command center. The base was built deep under the ice, where Vrak sensors couldn't find it. Lisa was 42 years old, with gray eyes and black hair. Before the war, she had been Earth's youngest admiral. Now she was humanity's secret weapon. She read Jake's report while drinking coffee from a metal cup. Around her, dozens of men and women worked at computer screens. They were tracking every Vrak ship, every patrol route, every weakness in the alien empire. Dr. Kevin Hughes sat at a nearby table, studying pieces of Vrak technology. Kevin was a brilliant scientist. He had short blonde hair and wore thick glasses. Before the war, he had worked on human space drives. Now he spent his time taking apart alien machines and learning how they worked. He had already figured out how to jam Vrak communications and disable their shields. "The aliens are getting comfortable," Lisa said to Kevin. "Jake reports they're using fewer patrol ships in Sector 7. Kevin looked up from his work. "That's good news. It means they really believe we're beaten." "How many supply ships do we have out there now?" 47 active ships, Lisa replied, each one gathering information. "The Vrak think they're watching us, but we're watching them." Lisa walked to a large screen that showed the solar system. Red dots marked Vrak bases and patrol routes. Blue dots showed human colonies and hidden facilities. The aliens controlled the major planets, but humans still moved freely through space. The Vrak saw human ships as harmless cargo vessels. They had no idea that each ship was part of a vast spy network. Commander Amy Rodriguez entered the command center. She was Lisa's best field agent, a woman who could blend in anywhere. Amy had brown skin and dark hair that she kept short for practical reasons. She had just returned from a mission to Mars, where she had been watching a Vrak research facility. What's the situation on Mars? Lisa asked. Amy pulled out a data pad. The aliens are building something new. Looks like some kind of weapon, but I couldn't get close enough to see details. They've increased security around the facility. Interesting, Kevin said. Maybe they're not as confident as they pretend to be. Lisa nodded. This was useful information. If the Vrak were building new weapons, it meant they were worried about something. Maybe they suspected that humans weren't as beaten as they appeared. The truth was simple but dangerous. Humanity had never really surrendered. The peace treaty was just a trick, a way to buy time while they prepared for the real battle. Every day, human technology grew stronger. Every day, they learned more about their enemies. On Earth, Vrak Administrator HFY sat in his office overlooking the ruins of New York City. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. Like all Vrak, he believed his species was superior to humans. The peace treaty had been easy to negotiate because humans were clearly too weak to fight back. HFY was writing his monthly report to the Vrak High Command. He described how peaceful Earth had become, how the human population was working quietly in their assigned jobs. There had been no signs of rebellion or resistance. The conquered species was behaving exactly as expected. What HFY didn't know was that every human he met was an actor playing a part. The defeated looks, the tired voices, the apparent acceptance of alien rule, it was all fake. Humanity was putting on the greatest performance in history, and the aliens were falling for every moment of it. Jake Morrison's ship reached Titan Colony just as the local sun was setting. He unloaded his cargo while Vrak guards watched from a safe distance. The guards were bored and lazy. They had been doing this job for 3 years without any problems. They saw no reason to be suspicious now, but hidden in the medical supplies were quantum communicators for the colony's secret resistance cell. Mixed in with the food packets were detailed maps of Vrak positions throughout the system. The farming tools contained components for weapons that didn't exist yet but would be built when the time was right. As Jake prepared to leave Titan, he thought about the future. Someday soon, Admiral Carter would give the signal. When that day came, every human ship, every hidden base, every secret weapon would reveal itself at once. The Vrak Empire would discover that they had never conquered humanity at all. They had simply given humans exactly what they needed, time to prepare for war. 6 months had passed since Jake Morrison's last supply run to Titan. The deception was growing deeper every day. Lieutenant Danny Shaw crouched in the maintenance tunnel beneath the Vrak research facility on Mars. His brown coveralls were dirty from crawling through the narrow spaces, but that was perfect. He looked exactly like what he was supposed to be, a human maintenance worker fixing pipes and cables. Danny was 28 years old with red hair and green eyes. Before the war, he had been a Marine. Now he was Admiral Carter's best spy on Mars. For 3 months, he had been working inside the Vrak facility, and the aliens barely noticed him. To them, all humans looked the same anyway. He pulled out a small scanner and pointed it at the alien equipment above his head. The device looked like a simple repair tool, but it was actually recording everything. Every wire, every circuit, every piece of technology that the Vrak thought was secret. Through the metal grating, Danny could hear alien voices speaking in their harsh language. He had learned enough Vrak words to understand the basic meaning. They were talking about something called Project Mind Chain. Danny's blood ran cold as he listened. The aliens were building a weapon that could control human thoughts. They planned to use it on all the human colonies at once. Once the weapon was activated, humans would lose their ability to think for themselves. They would become perfect slaves, unable to even remember that they had once been free. Danny finished his scans and crawled back through the tunnel. His heart was beating fast. This information had to reach Admiral Carter immediately. The timeline for humanity's secret plan might need to change. That evening, Danny sat in his small apartment in the human worker district of New Beijing, the Vrak-controlled city on Mars. He activated his hidden communicator and sent an urgent message to Europa. The message was disguised as a request for spare parts for the air recycling system. On Europa, Dr. Rachel Wright was working late in her laboratory. She was 35 years old with black hair and brown eyes. Before the war, she had been Earth's leading expert on alien biology. Now she was trying to understand how Vrak bodies worked so humans could fight them more effectively. Rachel had been studying tissue samples from dead Vrak soldiers for 2 years. She had discovered that the aliens had a weakness in their nervous system. A specific frequency of sound could cause them to lose consciousness. She was working on a way to turn this discovery into a weapon. Her computer chimed with an incoming message. It was from Danny Shaw on Mars, coded as a maintenance request, but Rachel knew the real meaning. She decoded the message and her face went pale. A mind control weapon. The aliens were planning to destroy human free will itself. Rachel immediately contacted Admiral Carter. Within an hour, Lisa was reading Danny's full report in her command center. Kevin Hughes stood beside her, his face grim. "How long do we have?" Lisa asked. Kevin studied the technical data that Danny had gathered. "Based on these scans, I'd say 6 months. Maybe less if they push hard." Lisa walked to her command screen and activated the secure communication network. All across the solar system, human agents received coded messages. The timeline was accelerating. Operation Silent Thunder would need to begin soon. Captain Jake Morrison was delivering supplies to the mining colony on Ceres when he received the new orders. His communications officer, Julie Barnes, handed him the decoded message. Julie was 26 years old with blonde hair and blue eyes. She had been a civilian radio operator before the war, but now she was one of the best code breakers in the human fleet. "It's from the Admiral," Julie said quietly. "Priority 1. Jake read the message twice. His supply runs were about to become much more dangerous. He was now tasked with delivering weapons and equipment to human resistance cells throughout the asteroid belt. The peaceful Cargo Captain Act was about to end. Meanwhile, Agent Helen Stone was having lunch with Vrak Administrator Zeph Tai in his office on Earth. Helen was 40 years old with gray hair and a kind face. She looked like someone's grandmother, which was exactly why she was perfect for her job. The aliens trusted her because she seemed harmless. Helen had been working as a cultural liaison between humans and Vrak for 3 years. She helped the aliens understand human behavior and customs. At least that's what they thought she was doing. In reality, she was feeding them false information while learning their deepest secrets. The human population remains stable and productive, Helen reported, reading from a fake data pad. Agricultural output is up 5% this quarter. There have been no signs of unrest or dissatisfaction. Zeph Tai nodded his large head. Excellent. The High Command will be pleased. Humans are proving to be more useful than we initially expected. Helen smiled sweetly. We're a resilient species, Administrator. We adapt to new situations quickly. What Zeph Tai didn't know was that Helen had been recording every conversation they'd had for 3 years. She knew the locations of every Vrak base on Earth, the schedules of their patrol ships, and the personal habits of their commanders. She had even learned about their families back on the Vrak homeworld. But today, Helen had more important business. She needed to learn about Project Mindchain without arousing suspicion. I've been hearing rumors among the human workers, she said carefully. Something about new VRAC technology being developed. They're worried it might affect their jobs. SciFi. Black eyes narrowed slightly. What kind of rumors? Nothing specific, Helen replied, maintaining her innocent expression. Just talk about some kind of new control system. You know how humans worry about change. The alien administrator relaxed. The humans have nothing to fear. The new technology will actually make their lives easier. They won't need to worry about making difficult decisions anymore. Helen felt a chill run down her spine, but she kept smiling. That sounds wonderful, Administrator. When might this new system be ready? Soon, SciFi said. Very soon. That night, Helen sent an urgent message to Admiral Carter. The aliens were definitely planning to use the mind control weapon, and they were close to completing it. The fake peace treaty had served its purpose, but time was running out. In the outer asteroid belt, Commander Paul Thompson was piloting his stealth ship Ghost Runner through a dangerous region of space. Paul was 33 years old with dark skin and sharp eyes. He had been a test pilot before the war, flying experimental ships that barely worked. Now he flew a ship that the VRAC couldn't even detect. The Ghost Runner was humanity's most advanced vessel, built using stolen alien technology and human innovation. It could move through space without appearing on any sensors. Paul used it to scout VRAC positions and test their defenses. Tonight, Paul was watching a massive VRAC fleet gathering near Jupiter. Hundreds of alien warships were assembling for what looked like a major operation. His co-pilot, Lieutenant Carol Green, was recording everything with the ship's advanced cameras. Carol was 29 years old with short black hair and steady nerves. She had been a reconnaissance specialist before the war, and now she was the best scout in the human fleet. She could navigate through enemy territory without being detected, even when the aliens were actively looking for intruders. Count 37. Battleships, 52 cruisers, and over 100 smaller vessels, Carol reported. This is the largest VRAC fleet we've ever seen. Paul frowned. What are they planning? An invasion of the outer colonies? Maybe, Carol said. Or maybe they're preparing for something else. Something they expect us to fight back against. The two officers looked at each other. The same thought was in both their minds. Did the VRAC suspect that the peace treaty was fake? Were they preparing for the real war that was coming? Paul sent the fleet data back to Admiral Carter on Europa. Within hours, the information was being analyzed by human intelligence experts. The conclusion was clear. The VRAC were getting ready for a major operation, possibly the deployment of their mind control weapon. Dr. Kevin Hughes worked through the night, trying to find a way to counter the alien weapon. He had Danny Shaw's technical scans and Helen Stone's intelligence reports. But the VRAC technology was more advanced than anything humans had seen before. Admiral Carter stood in her command center, watching the data flow in from agents across the solar system. The peaceful deception that had lasted 3 years was about to end. Humanity would have to reveal its true strength soon, or risk losing everything. The aliens thought they had won the war 3 years ago. They were about to discover how wrong they had been. The real war was just beginning, and this time, humanity would not pretend to lose. The quantum communicator in Admiral Carter's command center was buzzing with activity. Messages were coming in from human agents on dozens of worlds. The secret network that had been 3 years in the making was finally coming alive. Lisa stood before a massive wall screen showing the entire solar system. Red dots marked every known VRAC position. Blue dots showed human colonies and hidden bases. But now there were new symbols appearing, green dots that represented active resistance cells, ready to fight. General Roy Martinez appeared on the main screen via secure video link. He was calling from Asteroid Base 7, a hidden military facility built inside a hollowed-out space rock. Roy was 52 years old with gray hair and weathered hands. He had been preparing for this moment since the fake surrender began. "All military units are in position, Admiral," Roy reported. "We have 43 combat ships ready for deployment. The Vrak still think they destroyed our entire fleet 3 years ago." Lisa nodded. "What about the new weapons? Are they ready?" "Dr. Foster's team has completed the sonic disruptors based on Rachel Wright's research. We can disable Vrak soldiers without killing them, which might be useful if we want prisoners." Dr. Ellen Foster was humanity's new weapons expert. She was 38 years old with red hair and brilliant green eyes. Before the war, she had designed mining equipment. Now she built weapons that could stop alien invaders. Ellen had taken Rachel's discovery about Vrak nervous systems and turned it into a practical weapon. The sonic disruptors could knock out alien soldiers in seconds, leaving them alive for questioning. She had also developed new armor that could protect humans from Vrak energy weapons. On the other side of the asteroid belt, Commander Paul Thompson was leading the stealth ship Ghost Runner on its most dangerous mission yet. He and Carol Green were heading deep into Vrak territory to map their most secret bases. The Ghost Runner moved silently through space, invisible to alien sensors. Paul's hands were steady on the controls, but his heart was racing. They were closer to the Vrak homeworld than any human had ever been. "Contact ahead," Carol whispered, studying her sensor screen. "Vrak patrol ship, moving on intercept course." Paul held his breath. The stealth system should keep them hidden, but they had never tested it against the aliens' newest sensors. The patrol ship passed within a few hundred meters of the Ghost Runner. Paul could see the alien bridge through his telescope. The Vrak ship continued on its path without slowing down. They hadn't detected anything. "We're clear," Carol said with relief. "The stealth system works perfectly." They continued deeper into enemy space. What they found there made both officers gasp. Hundreds of alien ships were gathering around a massive space station. The station was bigger than anything humans had ever built, with strange towers and glowing energy cores. "This is their main base," Paul said quietly. "This is where they're controlling everything." Carol was recording every detail with the ship's cameras. "Look at those energy readings. That station has enough power to destroy entire planets." But Paul was looking at something else. Dozens of small ships were moving between the station and the nearby planet. The ships were carrying something that looked like metal cylinders. "Those aren't weapons," Paul realized. "They're deployment pods." The mind control weapon isn't a single device. It's hundreds of smaller units that they're going to spread across human space. This was critical intelligence. The Vrak weren't planning to use one big weapon from their home base. They were going to plant mind control devices throughout human territory, making them impossible to stop once activated. Paul and Carol quickly gathered all the data they could and headed back toward human space. This information had to reach Admiral Carter immediately. Back on Earth, Agent Helen Stone was facing her most dangerous challenge yet. Vrak Administrator Zeph Tai had become suspicious of her questions about the new technology. He had started asking her questions instead of answering them. "You seem very interested in our military projects, Helen," Zeph Tai said during their morning meeting. His black eyes were studying her face carefully. Helen maintained her innocent smile, but inside she was terrified. Had she pushed too hard? For information? "I'm only trying to help prepare the human population for any changes, Administrator. We like to know what to expect." "Perhaps the humans know more than they are telling us," Zeph Tai said slowly. "Perhaps the peace treaty was not as complete as we believed." Helen felt sweat forming on her forehead, but she kept her voice steady. "I don't understand what you mean, Administrator. Humans accepted the treaty gladly. We were tired of war." Zeph Tai stood up from his desk and walked to the window overlooking the city. 3 years ago, your species fought us with surprising determination. Now you seem almost too peaceful, too cooperative. This was the moment Helen had been dreading. The aliens were starting to figure out that something was wrong. She had to convince Zeftai that humans really were defeated, or the entire operation would be exposed. With respect, Administrator, you underestimate how much the war changed us, Helen said. We lost so many people. Entire cities were destroyed. We simply don't have the will to fight anymore. Zeftai turned back to face her. Perhaps, but I have decided to increase security measures anyway. Starting tomorrow, all human movements will be monitored more closely. All communications will be recorded and analyzed. Helen's heart sank. If the Vrak started monitoring human communications more carefully, they would discover the resistance network. Thousands of human agents would be exposed. Is that really necessary? Helen asked. The extra security might make the human workers nervous. Productivity could drop. A small price to pay for certainty, Zeftai replied. I am also sending inspection teams to all human colonies. They will conduct thorough searches for any signs of resistance activity. Helen realized she had to act quickly. As soon as this meeting ended, she would need to warn Admiral Carter. The security crackdown would begin in less than 24 hours. Meanwhile, on Mars, Lieutenant Danny Shaw was preparing for his most dangerous mission. He had learned that the mind control weapon prototype was being tested in a secure laboratory deep inside the research facility. Danny needed to get inside that lab and plant a device that would allow human scientists to study the weapon remotely. Danny put on his maintenance coveralls and picked up his toolkit. Hidden inside the tools were explosives, sensors, and a small computer virus designed by Dr. Kevin Hughes. If Danny could plant the virus in the alien computer system, humans would be able to monitor the weapon's development in real time. The laboratory was on the lowest level of the facility, behind multiple security doors. Danny had been mapping the guard schedules for weeks, looking for the perfect moment to break in. He made his way through the maintenance tunnels, crawling through spaces barely wide enough for a human body. Above him, he could hear alien voices and the hum of machinery. The Vrak were working day and night to finish their weapon. Danny reached the laboratory, level, and carefully removed a ceiling panel. Below him, he could see the most secret room in the facility. Strange machines filled the space, connected by glowing cables and pulsing with alien energy. In the center of the room was a metal cylinder about the size of a human torso. Danny realized he was looking at the prototype mind control device. The weapon that could destroy human free will forever. Two Vrak scientists were working at computer terminals, monitoring the device's energy output. Danny waited until they turned away, then dropped silently into the room. He had 30 seconds before the scientists would turn back around. Danny quickly planted Kevin's virus in the main computer and attached hidden sensors to the prototype device. Then he climbed back up into the ceiling just as the aliens turned around. The Vrak scientists noticed nothing. The virus was already beginning to copy their research data and send it to human receivers. Within hours, Dr. Kevin Hughes would know exactly how the mind control weapon worked. But as Danny crawled back through the tunnels, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Red lights flashed and alien voices shouted orders over the intercom system. Danny's heart raced as he realized what was happening. Vrak patrol leader Kethmer had discovered something suspicious in the human worker records. Several maintenance requests had been filed for areas that didn't need any repairs. Someone had been using fake work orders to access restricted parts of the facility. The aliens were conducting a full security sweep. Every human worker on Mars was about to be questioned and searched. Danny's cover was about to be blown, and with it, the entire resistance network might be exposed. The moment Admiral Carter had been preparing for was arriving faster than expected. The careful deception that had lasted 3 years was about to end. The real war between humans and aliens was about to begin. The alarm bells were ringing across the Mars research facility. Danny Shaw pressed himself against the wall of the maintenance tunnel as alien soldiers ran past below him. Their heavy boots echoed through the corridors as they searched for the human spy who had infiltrated their most secret laboratory. VRAC Patrol leader Kefmer stood in the security center, studying the surveillance footage. His forearms moved quickly across the control panels as he reviewed the past week's recordings. Something was wrong with the human maintenance records, and he was determined to find out what. Show me all human workers who accessed Level 7. In the past month, Kefmer ordered his assistant. The screen filled with images of human faces. Most were legitimate maintenance workers, but one face appeared more often than the others. A young man with red hair who had been in areas that didn't match his work assignments. Find this human, Kefmer commanded. Search every tunnel, every room, every hiding place. He is here somewhere. Danny knew he was trapped. The aliens had sealed all the exits from the facility. Security teams were checking every maintenance tunnel. It was only a matter of time before they found him, but Danny had completed his mission. The virus was already transmitting data to Dr. Kevin Hughes on Europa. The sensors he had planted were sending detailed information about the mind control weapon. Even if he was captured, the Resistance would know how to fight the alien technology. Danny activated his emergency communicator one last time. The message was simple. Package delivered. Network compromised. Execute immediately. The message traveled through quantum space to Admiral Carter's command center on Europa. Lisa read the coded words and felt her blood turn cold. Danny's cover was blown, which meant the entire Resistance network was in danger. There was no more time for preparation. Signal all units, Lisa ordered. Operation Silent Thunder begins now. Across the solar system, human agents received the activation code. 3 years of careful planning and secret preparation were about to be revealed. The greatest deception in human history was coming to an end, on Earth. Agent Helen Stone was walking out of her final meeting with Administrator Zeph Tai when her communicator buzzed. She read the message and immediately changed direction. Instead of going home, she headed for the hidden Resistance base beneath the ruins of Chicago. The base had been built in the old subway tunnels, invisible to VRAC sensors. 50 human fighters were waiting for her arrival. They had been preparing for this moment for 3 years, training with weapons and studying alien weaknesses. The time has come, Helen announced to the assembled group. In 6 hours we reveal the truth to our alien occupiers. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison was receiving new orders aboard the New Dawn. His cargo ship suddenly didn't look so harmless anymore. Hidden panels opened to reveal weapon systems that the VRAC had never suspected existed. The peaceful merchant vessel was actually a heavily armed warship. Julie Barnes worked quickly at her communication station, sending coded messages to other human ships throughout the system. One by one, the cargo vessels began transforming into their true forms. The human fleet that the aliens thought they had destroyed was very much alive. All ships report ready, Captain, Julie said with excitement in her voice. The fleet is twice the size the VRAC think it is. Jake smiled grimly. Then let's show them what human cargo ships really carry. On Europa, Dr. Kevin Hughes was analyzing the data from Danny's mission. The information about the mind control weapon was more detailed than he had hoped. The alien technology was advanced, but it had a critical weakness that human scientists could exploit. The weapon uses a specific frequency to control human brain waves, Kevin explained to Admiral Carter. But if we can generate an interference signal on the exact opposite frequency, we can not only block the weapon, but turn it back on the aliens themselves. Lisa nodded. How long do you need to build the interference device? It's already built, Kevin replied with a grin. I've been working on it for 6 months, ever since we first learned about the project. Every human ship and base is equipped with the counter-frequency generators. The pieces of humanity's plan were falling into place. For 3 years, every supply run, every maintenance mission, every diplomatic meeting had been part of a vast intelligence operation. The aliens had been completely fooled. Commander Amy Rodriguez was leading a team of human commandos toward the VRAC command center on Mars. They moved through the abandoned mining tunnels that connected to the alien facility. Amy had been mapping these tunnels for months, preparing for this exact mission. The commandos wore new armor designed by Dr. Ellen Foster. The suits were nearly invisible to VRAC sensors and could protect against alien energy weapons. Each soldier carried sonic disruptors that could knock out alien guards without making any noise. Target building in sight, Amy whispered into her communicator. Beginning infiltration. Amy's team had a specific mission: rescue Danny Shaw and capture the mind control weapon prototype. The device would be valuable for study, and Danny's knowledge of the facility would be crucial for future operations. At the same time, Commander Paul Thompson was leading the Ghost Runner and 12 other stealth ships toward the massive VRAC space station he had discovered. The station was the center of alien operations in this part of the galaxy. If humans could capture or destroy it, the VRAC command structure would collapse. All ships maintain stealth mode, Paul ordered. We need to get close before they detect. U.S. Carol Green monitored the enemy sensors from her position. Station is launching patrol ships. They're not heading toward us, but they're increasing security. They suspect something, Paul realized, but they don't know what. The stealth. Ships moved closer to the alien station. Paul could see the massive structure growing larger on his screen. Soon, the VRAC would discover that their most secure facility was surrounded by invisible human warships. Back on Mars, the security sweep was closing in on Danny's position. Alien soldiers were checking every tunnel systematically. Danny could hear them getting closer, their voices growing louder. Suddenly, the facility's lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, but the brief darkness was enough. Amy Rodriguez and her commando team had cut the main power lines and were now moving through the facility. "This is Rodriguez." Amy's voice came through Danny's communicator. "We're coming to get you. Stay hidden for 2 more minutes." The commando team moved like shadows through the alien facility. Their sonic disruptors dropped VRAC guards silently, leaving no trace of their passage. Amy had memorized the facility layout from Danny's reports and led her team directly to the laboratory level. Kefmer realized what was happening when his security team stopped reporting in. Human soldiers were inside the facility, moving with military precision. This wasn't a lone spy. It was a coordinated military operation. "Alert all units," Kefmer ordered. "We are under attack by human forces. This is not a drill." The message went out to VRAC commanders throughout the solar system. For the first time in 3 years, they were facing organized human resistance. The peace treaty was obviously a lie, but how long had the humans been planning this? Admiral Carter received reports from agents across human space. The operation was proceeding perfectly. VRAC forces were confused and disorganized, caught completely off guard by the sudden appearance of human military units they thought didn't exist. "Phase 1 complete," Lisa announced to her command staff. "All human forces are in position. The aliens are beginning to understand what's really happening." Dr. Rachel Wright activated the sonic frequency generators on Europa. Similar devices came online at human bases throughout the system. The interference signal would protect human minds from the alien control weapon, but it would also announce humanity's technological capabilities to their enemies. General Roy Martinez ordered the hidden fleet to reveal itself. 43 human warships dropped their stealth systems simultaneously, appearing on VRAC sensors like ghosts becoming solid. The aliens suddenly found themselves surrounded by a fleet they thought they had destroyed. This is Admiral Lisa Carter of the Human Defense Force. Lisa broadcast on all frequencies. To all VRAC forces, you thought you had conquered humanity 3 years ago. You were wrong. The peace agreement was never real. It was a strategic deception designed to give us time to study your weaknesses and prepare for this moment. The message reached every VRAC ship and base in the system. For the first time, the aliens understood the scope of human deception. They had been completely fooled for 3 years. On the alien command station, Fleet Commander Vorthek stared at his tactical display in shock. Human ships were appearing everywhere, in positions that should have been impossible to reach undetected. The defeated species had somehow built a fleet larger than his own. How is this possible? Vorthek demanded. Our intelligence reported no human military activity. His aide's voice was shaking. Sir, it appears that every human cargo ship, every supply vessel, every civilian transport was actually a disguised warship. They've been spying on us for 3 years. Vorthek felt something he had never experienced before: fear. The humans had outsmarted the mighty VRAC Empire. They had turned the peace treaty into a weapon more powerful than any bomb. The battle for the solar system began at exactly 0800 hours, Earth time. Across dozens of worlds, human forces struck simultaneously. The VRAC Empire, which had controlled human space for 3 years, suddenly found itself fighting an enemy that knew every detail of their defenses. Captain Jake Morrison's ship, the New Dawn, led the first wave of attacks against VRAC supply lines near Saturn. The alien cargo ships had no weapons and no escorts. Their commanders had never imagined they would need protection in what they thought was conquered territory. Target the engines, not the hull, Jake ordered his weapons officer. We want their supplies, not their deaths. Julie Barnes coordinated the attack from her communications station. 17 alien cargo ships disabled, Captain. No casualties on either side. This was humanity's new strategy. Instead of destroying everything like the VRAC had done during their invasion, humans fought with precision and mercy. They wanted to win the war, not commit genocide. Commander Amy Rodriguez had successfully rescued Danny Shaw from the Mars facility. Her commando team had also captured the mind control weapon prototype and 3 VRAC scientists. The aliens were now prisoners, but they were being treated well according to human military law. The prototype is secured, Amy reported to Admiral Carter. Dr. Hughes can study it safely now. Danny was tired and hurt, but alive. He had spent 4 hours hiding in maintenance tunnels while alien soldiers searched for him. The rescue had come just in time. The data I gathered should help us understand their entire weapons program, Danny told Amy as they flew back to Europa. The VRAC were planning to deploy the mind control devices within a week. At the massive VRAC space station, Commander Paul Thompson was leading the most dangerous part of the operation. 12 human stealth ships surrounded the alien command center, invisible to their sensors until the last moment. All ships, drop stealth and begin attack, Paul ordered. The Ghost Runner and her sister ships appeared on VRAC sensors like magic. Fleet Commander Vorthek watched in horror as his supposedly secure station was suddenly surrounded by human warships that shouldn't exist. Impossible, Vorthek whispered. How did they get past our defenses? Carol Green answered his question with the ship's external speakers. We've been watching you for 3 years, Commander. We know every patrol route, every sensor blind spot, every weakness in your defenses. The human ships didn't immediately open fire. Instead, they transmitted a message to the alien station. This is Commander Paul Thompson of the Human Defense Force, Paul announced. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now, and your crew will be treated according to the laws of war. Vorthek stared at his tactical screen. The human ships were positioned perfectly to destroy his station. But they were offering mercy instead of destruction. This was not how the Vrak conducted war. "Why don't they simply attack?" Vorthek asked his aide. "I don't know, sir. It's not logical." But Paul Thompson understood something the aliens didn't. Humanity had learned from the Vrak invasion. They had seen what happened when a species chose destruction over mercy. Humans were determined to be better than their enemies. On Earth, the liberation was proceeding smoothly. Agent Helen Stone's resistance fighters had captured the Vrak Administrative Center in New York without firing shot. The alien guards had surrendered when they realized they were outnumbered and surrounded. Administrator Zeftai sat in his office, still trying to understand what had happened. 3 hours ago, he had been the ruler of Earth. Now he was a prisoner of the species he thought he had conquered. Helen Stone entered his office with a cup of coffee and a gentle smile. "I brought you something to drink, Administrator. I thought you might be thirsty." Zeftai looked at her with confusion. "You are my captor now. Why are you being kind to me?" Helen sat down across from him. "Because that's who we are. Humans don't believe in revenge, Administrator. We believe in justice and mercy." "I don't understand," Zeftai admitted. "When the Vrak conquered other species, we enslaved or destroyed them. Why are humans different?" Helen thought about the question carefully. "Maybe because we remember what it felt like to be conquered. We don't want to make others suffer the way we suffered." Across the solar system, similar scenes were playing out. Human forces were winning battle after battle, but they were treating their prisoners with respect and kindness. Wounded Vrak soldiers received medical care from human doctors. Captured aliens were given food and comfortable quarters. Dr. Kevin Hughes was studying the mind control weapon prototype in his laboratory on Europa. The device was more advanced than anything humans had built, but it had a fatal flaw that the aliens had never noticed. "The weapon works by sending signals to human brain waves," Kevin explained to Admiral Carter. "But human brains are more adaptable than Vrak brains. We can learn to resist the signals if we know they're coming." Lisa nodded. "So the weapon would only work once?" "Exactly. After the first use, human minds would develop immunity. The aliens built a weapon that could only succeed through surprise. This discovery changed everything. The mind control weapon wasn't the ultimate victory tool. The Vrak thought it was. It was actually a sign of how little they understood about human psychology. General Roy Martinez's fleet was engaging Vrak warships near Jupiter. The battle was intense, but the human ships had advantages the aliens couldn't match. 3 years of studying Vrak technology had taught humans exactly how to fight their enemies. "Enemy shields are failing," reported Captain Bill Anderson from his ship, the Liberty's Edge. "Their weapons can't penetrate our new armor." Roy smiled grimly. "Dr. Ellen Foster's armor designs were working perfectly. Human ships could take direct hits from Vrak energy weapons and keep fighting. But the most important battle was happening in space, near the Vrak home system. Admiral Carter herself was leading the main human fleet toward the alien capital. This was the moment that would decide the war. The Vrak High Command had assembled their remaining forces to defend their homeworld. Hundreds of alien ships waited in formation, ready for the final battle. They still believed they could win through superior numbers. Admiral Carter's fleet appeared at the edge of the system. But instead of immediately attacking, she broadcast a message to the alien fleet. "This is Admiral Lisa Carter of the Human Defense Force. We come not as conquerors, but as representatives of a free humanity. We offer you a choice: genuine peace based on mutual respect or total defeat." The Vrak Supreme Commander received the message aboard his flagship. He had never heard such words from an enemy before. Every species the Vrak had conquered had fought to the bitter end or surrendered in fear. None had ever offered terms. "What do the humans want?" The Supreme Commander asked his advisors. "They want us to recognize them as equals," came the reply. "They want a real peace treaty, not a surrender document." The Supreme Commander considered this. His forces were outnumbered and outgunned. Human technology had proven superior in every battle. But more importantly, humans had shown mercy to Vrak prisoners throughout the war. "Send a message to the human admiral," the Supreme Commander ordered. "Request a meeting to discuss terms." Admiral Carter received the response with relief. The war could end without more bloodshed. Humanity had proven its strength, but more importantly, it had proven its character. Captain Jake Morrison watched the final negotiations from the bridge of the New Dawn. The peace talks were being broadcast throughout both human and Vrak space. This time, the agreement would be real. "It's hard to believe," Julie Barnes said quietly. 3 years ago, we were planning this deception. Now we're actually making peace." Jake nodded. "The best part is that it's real peace this time. Based on respect, not fear." The new treaty was signed aboard Admiral Carter's flagship. Both species would maintain their territories, but trade and communication would be restored. Most importantly, the agreement included protections for all sentient species in the galaxy. As the human fleet prepared to return home, Admiral Carter made one final broadcast. "To all Vrak forces, you came to our worlds thinking you could break the human spirit. Instead, you gave us something precious, the knowledge that we could overcome any challenge if we worked together. You thought the peace agreement was your victory. It was actually ours. The war was over. Humanity had won not through destruction, but through patience, intelligence, and the courage to show mercy to their enemies. The peace agreement had indeed been a lie, but it had become the foundation for a truth that would last for generations." Captain Jake Morrison set course for Earth, carrying news of humanity's greatest victory. The species that had pretended to surrender had instead taught the galaxy what real strength looked like.